Hello, gorgeous Leo Pride, and welcome to our April 2021 reading. This is a really vibrant, very intense, very luscious, colorful month, and it is full of this vibrancy and this clarity. And I just want to say before we get started on any of the messages, make sure you're getting some rest in between all these vibrant, intensive energies. Make sure you're giving yourself some time to adjust and connect and relax. Don't feel like you have to go full speed ahead. In fact, just before doing this reading, I was thinking about how I can't do anything really fast anymore, and how actually that's made my life much richer and actually more productive, more in sync, more with a lot more depth to it. And it's not because it's just not going fast in the way that we've been taught fast and efficient is in the world. Anyway, so just kind of keep that in mind. If you're feeling a little slower, it doesn't necessarily mean your life is actually going slow. It means that you're probably doing something really good. Now, here's the note that came up for Leo this month. Trust your intuitive wisdom more, even more. Wherever you are in that journey, take it a step further. Even when you think you're trusting yourself, go a step further. Because here's the thing, we often don't even realize when we're crushing or sidestepping our intuitive wisdom, right? That wisdom that kind of gives us little nudges and ideas and points and directions for us all day long in the little details. And, taking that extra 15 minutes to go on a walk, opting out of that extra phone call, listening to when somebody texts you and says, hey, let's have a coffee, and you really don't have the energy. Just being like, not today, intuitive wisdom wise, I'm really tired. Or on the other hand, maybe you have that impulse to call a friend and go on a walk together. Whatever the impulse is, not to squash it, not to say, oh, it doesn't really matter, not to say, oh, that's irrational, to really listen. Because here's the thing, we get trained culturally from a very young age, and this has been going on for generations. This is by no means anything new. We get trained to squash our intuitive impulses, and that's just partially how culture works, right? We all got to work together, and we've all been there where we've just had to ignore those impulses, right? But the more we practice into listening to them right on the nose as soon as they happen, the more like we are going to be able to make those little adjustments that help us listen to our souls more consistently over time without having to dismantle our lives or disrespect other people in our lives. So here's the other thing. This month is Aries season, and then we move into Taurus season. Venus, Mercury, and the Sun are going to be moving through Aries up through a good chunk of the month, and then they're all moving into Taurus. And Aries season is great for Leo. It's fellow fire energy. It's all about the big picture. This is big picture energy, so giving you the chance to zoom out and really look at your big goals, your big visions. Like this last year we've been really anchored into, as a culture, I think as a world, part of the energy right now is that we're really anchored into finding joy and nourishment in the details, and I love that. Very important skill set. But I think it's just as important to be able to zoom out and see the big picture and not get caught up in the details and not get caught up in like how and the why and the when, but to just have fun dreaming and getting big and letting ourselves have that bigness and that boldness in our visions and our fantasies, and to practice flexing that muscle again after a season of time that's been a lot more about using the tiny muscles. So this month is big vision energy. Aries season's big vision energy for Leos. And actually so is Taurus season. This Taurus season is going to be it's going to be epic. We're just getting started in April. We'll get back to it in May, but believe you me, Taurus season is going to be powerful. Very empowering for a lot of people. Page of Wands. I love it. So, but Taurus season for you is also big picture energy, because this is about who you are in the world, who you want to be in the world, how that shows up when you let your star shine bright in your own life, right? And so all the energy this month is about that big picture vision. And the way that we access it is we let ourselves listen to our souls. Ten of Wands. That's very interesting, don't you think? I do. I think that's quite enticing. I'm thinking about what's coming up when I see that card. The things we're holding on to, the things that we still feel like we need to do the same, just need to be put down. 2 Cups wanted to come out. Knight of Cups and 9 of Wands. Lots of fire energy. Not surprising. We're doing the Leo reading during Aries season. There's going to be some fire. There's going to be some fireworks. There's going to be some passion. Actually, speaking of passion, that word is about suffering. So it's an interesting word to use whenever we're talking about things we really enjoy in life. That's a tangent I'm not about to get into because we have a lot to cover here with these cards. Okay. Page of Wands I love. Page of Wands is like my favorite beginner. One of my favorite beginners because this guy, look at him. He's ready to go. Like he is ready to dress up, play the part, and get in there, even if he doesn't know what he's doing yet. There's just this hopefulness in Page of Wands that is so much about like when we haven't been like drugged down by all the things that, all the reasons why we're not allowed to do something, all the reasons why we're not allowed to be something, all the reasons we have to stay small, or we have to do things the same old way, or we have to repeat the same formula, right? Like not worried about that at all. Just ready to get in there. And I do think April, like I said, with listening to your intuitive wisdom more, listening to your divine wisdom more, listening to that voice that gives you the nudges and the pushes and the pulls all day long to help you navigate your life, the conversation you have with the world, because there's a conversation going all day, every day, and you can access it more and more. The more you do that, the more these openings are coming. And there are new beginnings springing up. There are new connections, and they normally do start quite small, quite quiet, and you might even undersell them to yourself and say, it's not really anything. It is something. So give yourself that gift. Now here's the deal, and this is part of the vibrancy of April, I think, in general. Page of Wands is about picking up something, starting something, exploring something that you really feel that childlike joy for. Not something that you have to convince yourself to be excited about, not something that you have to give yourself a PowerPoint presentation to say why you should love it and why it should be good for you. Something that just like, maybe it gets you a little nervous, maybe it feels a little vulnerable, but you can't resist thinking about it. That's where the good stuff is. And that's what Page of Wands is all about. Now here's the thing. We got some of these world-weary warrior guys, and these guys just keep doing the same thing. And it kind of plays on what I was talking about in March. The haunted house or the garden of life. And, you know, we all, I think as humans, these are like kind of the two paradigms. I think we can all fall into the haunted house and all fall into the garden of life, or come into the garden of life. It's a dynamic. And for me, like, and believe you me, March was like all that practicing and waffling between the anxiety and the joy. I tell you what, I was definitely writing that with the rest of the Leos. But look at this guy. Look at Ten of Wands. How different than the Page of Wands, who's holding up his staff, so excited. That sounds so wrong. But the Page of Wands is excited. This doesn't feel heavy. This doesn't feel like something he has to drag around. But this Ten of Wands guy has just been doing the same thing, carrying around the same thing for so long. He doesn't even remember why he's doing it or where he's going anymore. And it's time to put this down. Tens in tarot are always going to be about a completion of a cycle. 10 in general is the number of beginning and end, that meeting point when as you put something down, something else begins. And I think sometimes it's scary to put down those wands because it means that we've acknowledged we've changed. It means that we've acknowledged that we have to put it down. And it also means that we have to be open to what is next. And it also means that we have to allow ourselves that growth and that change. And that's vulnerable. That's vulnerable. And what if you put down the wands, you put down the identity, the workload, the worries, the way that you've written your own story, and you find out there's nothing good past those wands, right? That's always the fear. But then as soon as you put down the wands, look who appears. Knight of Cups. Oh, I love Knight of Cups. Another one of my favorite young, vibrant dreamers. You know, you were getting these dreamer cards. These guys are such dreamers. They are not worried about what could go wrong. They are not living in their fears. This guy's an artist, poet, a singer, a writer, a believer in romance and love. And that's where, like, I'm coming back to that big picture energy I was talking about, like really looking at the big vision you have for yourself. It requires a romantic lens. It requires an epic, beautiful, romantic lens that's almost cinematic in the way that you write yourself into your own story. You're into your own life. And the Knight of Cups is also about healing. It's also about healing via the romantic and the beautiful, and giving yourself that creative expression, in allowing yourself to have it and not denying it to yourself because it's unrealistic or because it's selfish or because it doesn't make sense, or all those reasons that our minds get in the way of our spirit speaking. And what's so wild for me is that Knight of Cups like brings the barriers down, brings the worries down, brings the armor off, even though he's wearing armor, admittedly. It takes the armor off, and then worry. Looking out for the dangers. The world-weary warrior, as I have nicknamed him. This guy shows up when we are at our most vulnerable normally. Because this is the part of ourselves that looks out for attack. It's kind of like our animal bodies are really wired to protect us, you know, to listen out for dangerous sounds, to get adrenaline running when we need to run, to do those things for us, right? And we tend to apply them to social situations and to failures in life that aren't about life and death in the biological body. And so he shows up when we're feeling really vulnerable. He shows up when we're feeling, actually often when we are most on our path and when we're just beginning to open ourselves up to maybe do aspects of that path. He likes to show up at those times because this is when we are truly at our most disarmed. We are truly at our most open and vulnerable and big. So it's natural for him to show up. The requirement here is we have these two dreamers. It's seriously it's like the next chapter of the haunted house and the garden of life. Chapter 2, we're just going to get into it. We're going to keep playing with this theme apparently. We have the two dreamers that are just dreaming beautiful, creative things that heal the world, letting Leo shine their light and bring that fun and that warmth into the world. And we have the two warriors. The two that want to hold on to what's happened in the past, that want to hold on to that as reasons for not being allowed to grow, for reasons that you're not allowed to change shape, as reasons for why you have to hold on, why it's not safe to grow. And I think this is that expansion contraction that's really natural with transformation. You know, you expand, you dream big, you get a little vulnerable, and then you pull back a little bit. And I think that's very natural. The main thing to keep in mind with this is when the worry voice comes, or when the wanting to keep you small voice comes, pay attention and take a minute to self-soothe and to replace the thought that maybe like says that I'm not allowed to be this happy, or I'm not allowed to trust this process and feel like this is going to be a good thing because these people have told me it's going to be a really bad thing for me, because culture has told me it's going to be really bad for me, right? And replace it with something that reaffirms your ability to be the dreamer in this life, right? Like, I am allowed to take up space. I am allowed to feel so safe on this journey. I am allowed to believe that these beautiful things that are coming into my life are good for me and that will help me, right? And so just taking that time to re-own your space, reclaim your energy within the story is so important. And it's not important. You don't have to like have some crazy high standard for staying in the dreamer state and being like the Knight of Cups all day, every day. That would be wild. Just allow yourself to entertain it. And then just to witness that part of yourself that wants to shut down or keep doing things the same way. And be okay with that. Big picture energy, baby. It's Leos. Leos don't do things small, right? Am I right? It's all about reclaiming our big lion energy, and I love it. We are going to be doing so many activations over on the Patreon. If you are looking for support, guidance, connection, I would love to see you over there. You can also find me on my Instagram and on my website. These are all great places to connect with me. And of course, I would love it if you stuck around and joined me here and liked, subscribed, tell me about how your April is going, what's showing up for you, how you're dealing with this garden of life versus haunted house. I know this has been an ongoing journey for me as well. And of course, you can find PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry on her Etsy shop. I will see you all in our next moon videos and for our May reading. I love you, Leos. You're my family. I'm a Leo sun, and I just love being a part of this family, and I'm sending you all so much love and talk to you very, very, very soon.